Hello everyone, my name is Kenny, and in this video I'll be talking to you about the principles covered in Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. So these principles can be used to help you in your everyday life, dealing with difficult people, business. So I created this book review or this book summary so you could basically have a quicker grasp of the material that's in the book without actually having to read the book in its entirety. Although after this review, I hope that you are impacted greatly and you benefit from this information, that you'll actually go out and read the book in its entirety. Actually going about and reading the book in its entirety will allow you to cover the more specific topics and the more specific stories, I should say, that Dale covered, to allow you to just have a greater insight of these principles. I can guarantee you right now, you won't regret this time spent in improving your knowledge. This is going to impact your life greatly, I can guarantee that. And even if it was just 10%, I should take a backtrack on that and just say that even if it's not significant and it's 10%, maybe 10% shows up significantly for you. And even if it was just 1%, that means you're leaving your life 1% better than it was before. So I really want to encourage you guys and girls to read this book and to watch this video in parts. That way you can benefit the most from it. So I just want to encourage you again to try to watch this video and be completely focused for your own benefit. Try not to be on your phone and listening to the video at the same time. Try not to scroll down to the comment section and read the comments. Try not to be distracted. I promise you, you will get the most out of your time if you can sit down and watch this video and learn from it. And that's why I suggest doing it in parts. That way it's more tolerable and you get less bored. Whether you watch this video in parts, as in you take several days to cover it, or you take a day and you just cover it and you take breaks, I encourage you to stay focused, because this will actually let the information change your life. And I really hope this benefits you guys, and I know it will. And the more focused you are, I believe the more that you will allow it to benefit your life. And I encourage you guys to come back, whether it's a week, weeks, or months, and leave a comment and let me know how you've applied these principles and how they've actually benefited your life. So just to kind of open up, when you're reading a book, you should really ask yourself, one, why am I reading this book? And two, how is it going to benefit me? How is it going to benefit my life? You're obviously going to get some of that information from book reviews, from summaries like this, and obviously from the title, it'll give you a quick, idea as to what the book is about. So with that said, this book is really going to help you with your self-improvement. It's really going to help you with your human relations, how to be able to handle people, how to make people like you, etc. This book is really challenging. It's not an easy one, but I believe that it will change your life. The beauty of this book is that you can apply these principles in so many different areas of your life. And also, it's something that you can work on. It's a skill. Human relations, handling people is a skill, and it can be applied throughout your entire lifetime. Also, leave me a comment, guys. Let me know what kind of books you want me to review. Either an interesting topic or something that you've already read that has really impacted your life and you really want me to do a review on it, so that can also help me out. I'll help you guys out, you help me out. Leave a comment, let me know some interesting books. Thank you. The author of this book, Dale Carnegie, he has such an interesting story. I really highly suggest that you go back and take a look at it. They actually do an intro, I believe, where they cover his story. And when you get the book, I highly suggest that you go and take a look at it. That's not really my focus for the review today, but I do recommend it. It really taught me, and it really just opened my eyes up to how you can really turn nothing into something. I'm really amazed at how somebody can just, in their daily routines, just get a random idea out of nowhere, start working on it, improve upon it, and then, whether it's months or years later, somehow their life can look completely different. They've been working on that idea, they've been working on that skill, and like I said before, so to speak, turn nothing into something. And that's really what Dale Carnegie's life is like. He started out teaching people, he actually started out as a much simpler kind of kid, living in the farm, traveling to go to school, comes from a bit of a poor family, and he had this idea of teaching public speaking. Then it progressed to the point where he started studying how to handle people, how to teach people about human relations, and then eventually it turned into him touring and teaching about that. And then the story just continues to unfold and unfold. And really the crazy thing that I want to take away from this personally, and that I want to pass on to you guys, is that how you can have a daily routine, a daily schedule, but then all of a sudden you have an idea to do something, and your life doesn't change. Your life still continues, but you find time to work on that skill, and then your life can change after maybe months and years of working on that skill. So, very interesting story. Check him out. Really knowledgeable guy, and it shows through this book. So like I said before, human relationships are really found everywhere. They're not just in business. They're not just in, fancy meetings. They're also just in our everyday life, mother and son, brother and sister, etc., etc. And if anything, learning how to deal with people is actually more of a valuable skill, of more value, of more worth than actual material items, kind of like, like fancy jewelry. Take, for example, you have a bunch of people doing a job, right? So I come from the healthcare industry. So let's say you have like a group of nurses. You're gonna have the group of nurses doing the work, which is amazing. Totally respect what they do. And then you have a manager of the nurses, right? So the manager of the nurses is getting paid more, right? Usually more experienced, but they're not necessarily the most experienced person. They're not necessarily the most skilled. They can start an IV, but maybe there's a nurse that works as a nurse that can start an IV much better and more efficiently. So the manager isn't necessarily recruited to show the nurses what to do necessarily. They're not necessarily the most skilled nurse, but yet they get paid more. And why is that? It's because they're actually doing a completely different job. So the manager is more about dealing with people. They're dealing with scheduling, they're dealing with, time off, with meetings, learning how to bring people together to have a positive attitude to do the job. So you see from the regular day in and day out job of being a nurse, all of a sudden the manager's job completely changes. Yes, they might do some stuff here and there to cover people, but it becomes an entirely new job in itself. And so this really goes to show how important understanding human relationships and understanding how to deal with people really comes into play. It's a higher position, so to speak, but full respect to the people doing the job, but it's a different position, different requirements. So that's what you're going to get out of this book. You're going to learn how to be in those kind of positions if that's interesting for you and if that's what you're meant to do. So as previously and so many times I'll state this book is very, very good. It's worth improving upon the skill of dealing with people, improving human relationships. And quite honestly, it's so amazing. This book, you can just apply it, and you can directly see its effects right before your eyes, just like many other books, many other topics. You're basically running an experiment, so to speak. You're basically going to learn some stuff from me that I've learned from this book so graciously, and then you're going to apply it, and then you're going to reflect and tell yourself, did this work? What went well? What didn't go well? What can I improve upon? Did I actually apply it properly? So it's really like you're running almost like a science experiment, and you're actually testing it out, which is the beautiful thing, because if what I tell you is complete garbage, when you try it, it won't work. So you can directly know if I'm telling you something that's real, and let me tell you guys, it is real. So apply these and watch it work right before your eyes. This book really offers a different perspective, one that's more about encouragement, one that's more about understanding the other person's perspective, being less critical. This is all in hopes to produce some sort of change, and we'll cover what kind of changes we're looking for, because this book is broken down into 3 parts. But I don't want you guys to think of this in a manipulative way. This is more of a way of living. It's more of a change in the way that you think. It's more of a change in your lifestyle. It's not that you're manipulating people into your way of thinking, but it's more so just like I said before, just kind of an encouraging way, and it's a change in your mindset, and it's a change in the way that you handle your lifestyle, the way that you handle your relationships. I know this has been a really long intro, but it's really setting the stage for what's to come. Really sit back, relax, and really enjoy this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the content in this. I really hope that most of all it gives you knowledge that you can apply and ultimately change your life for the better. And I I encourage you to watch it with enthusiasm. Treat it almost like you're watching your favorite Netflix show or one of your favorite movies. Grab some snacks, like I was saying before, watch it in parts throughout the day, over several days. When you get bored, take a break. Try to have your full attention on the video. It's going to give you the most bang for your buck, allow this information to sink in, which therefore will actually correlate into changing your life for the better. Before we begin, I will leave you guys with a pretty epic startup into this book review. So with regards to our human brains and our talents and our abilities, we are really only using half of what we can do. You know, I'm not sure who came up with that number, but it's basically saying that as humans, we live well within our limits. So to get out of our limits, we need to add knowledge. We add knowledge a lot of the times through reading, through listening, basically through education. And once we have that education, then we apply that education and then we improve. Before we start, I'm going to go over 9 suggestions directly taken out of this book, as is all the information taken out of this book. So these 9 suggestions will allow you to mentally think about things that you need to do in order to get the most out of this book. So I want you guys, of course, this material is best when reviewed, and we'll talk about that as well. But I also want to encourage you guys that if you put in the time now, this one solid time, yes, you need to review, but you'll need to review less because you put in the time now with your full attention. So you don't have to keep reviewing this video. Give it one shot, your full attention, and then you need to just do light review to solidify the information. But the first time you watch it, you should really do a solid focus, okay? So 9 suggestions here to get the most out of this book. Number 1, have a drive and determination to learn about the topic. Number 2, review this information to solidify the information. Number 3, as you're introduced to a topic and a principle, stop and think how you can apply that principle in your daily life. Make notes and highlight areas that you want to focus on right now for number 4. Number 5, kind of like I previously mentioned, you need to review this information. So you can't just listen to it once and have it stick in forever. Make those notes and then go over them and review these principles. Number 6, only knowledge that is actually used will stick in your mind. So you need to make this a lifestyle and you need to apply this information that you've learned. Number 7, do this with another person. If you break some of the rules of this book, maybe give them $1, or maybe you get each other to do like 20 push-ups, 20 sit-ups, 20 squats, something like that. Number 8, reflect. Take a look at what went well for the week, for the month, what went bad, what you can improve on. And this just helps you to become more self-aware. Did you apply the principle in the situation? Did you fall short when you could have applied it? Did you do it in a way that maybe you could improve it? And this really just helps to bring all the information together and improve your future decisions. And really just helps you be accountable, guys. It helps you be accountable, and the next time that you're faced with a similar situation, you can make a better decision. And number 9 is almost like keeping a diary. I know it sounds kind of lame, but when you've applied these principles, I encourage you to write them down. Be specific what principle you applied, when you applied it, and the results that you got from it. That way you can actually dig back, have evidence of this information working, and reflect, and then think maybe I could have done it better, or you know, I can take this information and wow, it actually benefited my life. Kenny was right. Not that I'm right. Dale was right. It's his book. And just, you have proof, because as humans, we love proof, and we'll see that this information is actually working for us, and that way we'll want to continue to apply it. This book review begins now. So the book is broken down into different parts. So the first part that we're going to cover is the principles of the fundamentals of handling people. Principle 1 is do not criticize, condemn, or complain others. This chapter opens up talking about serial killers and murderers and people that have been imprisoned in the past. Despite these people doing such horrific things, they don't actually see themselves in a negative light. They have their reason as to why they did it, whether they felt like they had to do it, whether they felt like they were being treated unfairly, whether they thought they were actually the hero in the situation. And really the whole point of this is to just highlight the fact that people do not like to admit when they are wrong. Now, obviously, pretty self-explanatory. If you murder somebody, you're wrong. Of course, you can go into specifics about self-defense, but I'm talking if you go out and commit a crime and do like a cold-blooded murder, that's of course wrong. But you might even have a hard time getting a murderer to admit to that. So imagine how much harder it is for somebody in your daily life to admit that they're wrong for, I don't know, leaving something somewhere they shouldn't have, forgetting to do the dishes, being wrong on some sort of fact. Imagine how much harder it is to get them to admit to a silly thing if you can't even get somebody to admit that they're, like they've committed a serious crime. People do not take criticism well. So the best thing to do is to not criticize, condemn, and complain. The best thing to do is to focus on their positive behavior, focus on the things that they've done well, and ignore the bad stuff. And if you focus on encouraging the good stuff, they'll start to do more of that because they're getting encouragement from that. And then when you neglect the bad stuff tends to go away. Also, just in general, to actually get a conversation going and to get a point across with somebody, they are going to be on 100% self-defense if you start by criticizing them. So it's really just a bad idea. As stated in the Bible, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing here, judge not unless you want to be judged. If someone makes a mistake, do you think that if you were in the exact same shoes as them, that you wouldn't have made that mistake? Try to think from the other person's perspective. Try to understand who they are, why they did what they did, and just try to understand things from the other person's viewpoint. All right, principle number 2 is give sincere and honest appreciation. Now, the best way to get somebody to do something that you want them to do is they have to want to do it. Honestly, in our daily lives, and I'm guilty of this myself, I'll be the first one to admit it and just say that we take for granted people in our lives all the time. And it's especially those people that are very kind and they do little things in our lives that we completely forget about and we take for granted. But without those little things being done, our lives would change drastically. Our lives would be much more inconvenient. Let's give an example here. If you live with your parents and your mom cooks you dinner and she does little things for you, you can take those things for granted. But imagine when you don't have that stuff. I mean, it's not that you can't do it yourself, but you will really start to appreciate how much you really appreciated that without even realizing it once it's gone. So with that said, why do a lot of relationships break up? Why do a lot of relationships go sour? Why do employees quit their jobs? It's because they don't feel appreciated a lot of the times. So to counter that, you want to give sincere and honest appreciation for the other person and the things that they're doing, whether big or small. Principle number 3, make another person want to do something. Engage in them the desire to do something. So this really ties in well to the other point as mentioned before. But you basically want to try to focus on the other person and try to understand their viewpoint. You want to understand why, if I was this person, why would I listen to myself? Why would I want to do this thing that I'm asking the other person to do? What benefit does it have to my life? Because I know that it would have benefit to the other person, but we need to start thinking the reverse and thinking how what we're asking the other person to do, how from their perspective it could benefit them, and then present that benefit to them. Think of it like this. People want to feel like they're in control. When you're selling something to somebody, they don't want to feel like they've been sold a product, but they want to feel like they've chosen to buy the product. People want to feel like they've been the ones that have had the decision. So in order to do this, we have to understand how it's going to benefit them so that they can choose to take that action because they see that it benefits them. And like I said before, this ties in well with the previous point of giving sincere and honest appreciation. That also will make the person want to do it as well. And both tie in with the idea of understanding the other person's viewpoint. Why am I saying this? I will say this now, and I will say this probably many times throughout the video, that a lot of these principles overlap with each other. Now, you remember those Venn diagrams as a kid? Yeah, so that's what we're working with here. So I know you guys remember those. So basically, not everything is going to be exclusive from one another. It's not like these principles are laid out and they're all separate. A lot of them actually overlap. But that is the beauty of this book. That is the beauty of these principles. Once you identify the fundamentals, everything flows so nicely, guys. You start to understand one principle, it starts to flow into another, starts to correlate back to the other one, correlates with the next one. And the amazing thing about this is that it's all about perspective. You can understand a principle one way, or you can choose to interpret it another way with a different perspective. So it really just goes to show what we were talking about before, eh? Like, understanding the other person's perspective, bam, here we have perspective again. So universal topic, so let's keep going. Now we're actually done with part one. So just to reiterate, part one was the fundamentals in handling people, fundamentals in dealing with people. So I'll take a break now. I encourage you guys to take a break. Stop, look back at those 9 suggestions that were taken. I encourage you to start applying those now. I honestly know that some of you guys already are applying that information. That's amazing. Perhaps you're even thinking of ways that you've fallen short in the past. But you know what? That's actually great. That shows that, first of all, you're honest with yourself, because to actually change yourself and to improve your life, you need to start by being honest. You need to be truthful with yourself. You need to especially be honest with yourself in areas that you can improve in, areas that you've fallen short. Don't be discouraged. That's actually a good thing that you guys are doing. You're identifying ways that you can improve. You're being realistic with yourself. So for those of you who are doing that, continue to do that. You're showing that you desire to change, and you're not just talking. You're not just talking words. You're actually showing actions. You're having thoughts. You're showing that you want to change, which is so important. It's much more important than just thinking you want to change. You're actually showing an area that you're going to actively try to change. So we're going to take a break here, and then we'll come back for part 2. Hope you enjoyed your snack and your little break. Let's get into it. This book is actually split up into 4 parts. Part 2 is ways to make people like you. And kicking it off with principle 1, we have become genuinely interested in other people. So when you become interested in other people, shockingly, not so shockingly, they end up becoming more interested in you. Simply put, if you try to understand other people, understand their life, understand where they came from, where they're trying to go, what their problems are, then they're more likely to develop trust with you. They're more likely to develop some sort of rapport with you where they feel like connected to you. And if they're connected to you, you'd be surprised how much easier it is to get that person to not only like you, but want to do things for you, want to do things with you, and either, doing what you ask them, or a lot of the times even going above and beyond what you ask. You want to make sure, guys, that when you're doing this, you are very sincere and genuine about what you say. So we're not trying to manipulate people here. These are not techniques on manipulation. What they are like we were previously stating, it's a new way of life. It's a new way of living. It's a new way to see the world. It's a new way to behave. And it will change your life for the better in terms of your human relationships. This is actually beneficial for both parties. You're going to make somebody, feel so much better about themselves. You're going to be encouraging to somebody. You're going to give somebody hope when you do all these principles. And you'll see with a lot of the principles coming up, it's really just a way of really being basically a ray of sunshine, simply put, in somebody's cloudy life. And or a cloudy moment in their life. And then on the return end, you're going to get a new relationship, a new friend. You're going to get others to be won over to your way of thinking. You're going to get other people to like you. So it's really beneficial for both parties. So I just wanted to make that clear. These are not manipulation tactics. They're a way to develop better friendships with the world around you. Principle 2, smile. Now, a smile costs nothing to give. But it can really cheer somebody up, and it can be a memory that lasts forever. A smile is like a beam of the sun on a cloudy day. It's a way of welcoming others into your life. It's a sign of friendship. It really warms up other people to you. Good communication isn't just the words you say. It's not just the way you say them, but it's also your body language that's associated with that conversation, and especially when that body language is equipped with a smile. Principle 3, you want to remember a person's name. Now, a person's name to them is like the sweetest sound in the dictionary. It's the sweetest sound in their language. Do your best to know how to pronounce somebody's name, which is especially important. Also, if their name is hard to pronounce, if you take extra time listening to them when they introduce themselves to you and learn how to properly say their name, it's going to stick out even more so for that person, because chances are most people mispronounce their name and don't really take the time to try to correct it. Do your best to memorize their name. Do your best to picture their face with that name. Associate that name with that face. Do not forget somebody's name. Including a person's name in a conversation makes it more personal. It really warms the person up towards you. It makes them feel very special. You know, like if you walk around universities, colleges, and museums, how you see somebody that donated a large sum of money to say, you know, keep an exhibit open or to make a donation for a classroom. You notice how they have a nice shiny plaque with their name on it? That's a huge incentive to why that person gave a donation. Yes, they're doing it for a good cause, but other than that, they also have an incentive that their name will be displayed and they'll get credit for that. So it's a reality that some people love their name. I think basically all of us do. And in some way, shape, or form, we all wish that we could live forever. So by having our name on a plaque somewhere for all others to see, it's a way of having that recognition and having that almost that immortality that our name will carry on forever. All right, so principle number 4, be a good listener. So a lot of the times, you know, somebody, even when they say they want advice, sometimes they just want somebody there to vent to. They just want somebody there that's going to listen to them. And they almost talk themselves into a situation or talk themselves out of a situation. A lot of the times that person already knows what they want to decide. They already know the pros and cons. They just want a body there, a set of listening ears. They just want to vent out the pros and cons, exactly what they're thinking in their head. They want you to hear that also. And they've already made their decision. If you can be a good listener and maintain soft eye contact, be warm and welcoming to the person, listen and make them feel important by not interrupting them, then that person will, again, develop that sort of trust with you. They will develop that friendship with you, and they will like being around you, and they will like doing things for you. So it's a really good mutual benefit being an active and a good listener. When you get a thought in a conversation and somebody's mid-sentence, mid-thought, don't just blurt out your thought as it comes to your head. Let that person finish their thought. Let them finish their sentence. Let them say what they have to say. Feel special, feel heard, and then you can say your point. Also, another thing to actually tag on to this is with the soft eye contact, you also want to have good posture. So you can lean in when you're talking to somebody in the conversation, have a nice soft smile like we talked about. And I'm saying soft because it doesn't need to be this intense gaze. It doesn't need to be this intense glare. It needs to be, hey, I'm listening to you, kind of eye contact, something friendly, something, you know, warm and welcoming. And just show your body language. Be open with your body language and show that person that, you know, you're facing them, you're leaning in, you're trying to listen. You know, your hands are not fiddling around, you're not on your phone or anything like that. And just, yeah, that all plays a huge role in just your body language like we talked about before. And it all plays an aspect into being a good listener. Principle 5, talk in terms of what the other person is interested in. So what better way to get somebody talking and interested in you than to talk about things that they know the best about? So if the person really likes cars, talk to them about cars for a little bit. If the person's a professional golfer or they really like golfing, talk to them about golf. You'd be surprised how, since that person is so passionate about that thing and they do that thing, they're going to love talking about it. And if they get a chance to talk to you about the thing that they love, they're going to associate you with that thing. They're going to associate joy and that positive emotion that they got from the conversation with you because they love that hobby so much, or whatever, that their career or whatever thing we're talking about here that they're passionate about. They're going to associate all that joy with you. So now all of a sudden you develop this good trust, this good friendship, this good relationship, and that person likes you. Principle 6 is you want to make the other person feel important. Now this is actually probably, in another topic we'll cover later, probably some of the most important actual principles in this book. And, you know, human beings, we really desire, obviously, to feel safe. We desire to reproduce. And we really desire to feel important or feel like we're needed. So if you really make that person feel like they're appreciated, like they're important, even the small things that they do, that's going to be a very easy way to make somebody like you. Do your best not to strike down a person's ego, you know, make them feel appreciated. Because honestly, guys, you don't know sometimes the backstory of a person's life. Some people, even myself included at times, you can feel very lonely, and sometimes people are more lonely than you know. So if your interaction with them makes them feel important, makes them feel appreciated, you're basically like a ray of sunshine on a cloudy day. You're basically like rain in the desert for years. You know what I mean? This stuff seems so simple, and it seems so, you know, almost like it's too easy, but you'd be surprised, because think about any time that you've been having, whether a good day or a bad day, but especially if you've been having a bad day and somebody gives you a compliment and they make you feel important, they listen to you, they make you feel appreciated. It's like you don't ever forget that interaction. You don't ever forget that person. It's like they're stamped forever in your mind as being somebody that you like, and somebody that you like to talk to, and somebody that you're willing to do things for. So the easiest way, flip it back on yourself. When you think that these principles are too easy, or if you think that these principles are too simple, think about if they were applied to you and how good you would feel. And to be honest, even if you know that these principles are being applied directly to you, they will still work on you, because it's just our human nature. It's just the way that we operate. We love to talk about ourselves as humans. We love to, you know, we pride ourselves in how we look, in how we, you know, how we're looked at by other people. We want to feel important. All these things are very universal. So if we can just apply these simple, basic fundamentals, they're going to work, I guarantee you. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching part 2. So that was how to make people like you. Now remember, I mentioned it before, and I know you guys are already thinking this, so I really appreciate it. But just remember, this is beneficial for both parties, whether that's you and a group of people or you and just another person. It's a new way of living. It's about sincerity. It's about genuine connection. It's not about manipulating people. It's not about using tactics. It's about reshaping the way you think and reshaping the way you think about interactions with others. So I encourage you to take another break. Perhaps you're so excited, which I'd be more than happy to hear. So feel free to leave a comment down below. If you're very excited and you watch through without taking any breaks, that's fine too. If that works for you, that works for you. But we're gonna take a little break here, and then we're gonna jump back onto part 3. All right, I'm back. So guys, welcome back. Part 3, here we go. So this is a pretty massive section, and we're gonna cover 12 principles here that teach you how to win others to your way of thinking. Now this can be, you know, this might start to sound a little bit redundant, and I know we talked about this before. I don't want to make this video where I'm constantly relating or pointing out how these principles are related. I know you guys are smart. I know you've noticed that a lot of these principles can be interpreted almost as one, but it's just a different way to look at them. It offers up a different perspective, and like we talked about before, everything fits together nicely. Periodically, I'll bring up how things kind of fit, like I was doing before, but I know you guys already see it, and I want to leave that also for you guys to discover as you watch this video, and as you're applying things, and as you write down these principles, and as you have notes of these principles. I want you guys to look back, and as you apply them, and as things become more real to you, realize truly how connected this stuff is. It has such a nice flow to it. I know you guys are much smarter than me. I'm realizing this stuff now. You're probably realizing it as you're watching this video. So I don't want to make it boring by constantly repeating the same ways that they're related, but I know that you guys, and I want to encourage you guys to just know that this stuff is, and just continue to look and see how things are related, and you'll find plenty of connections, and I know you guys are already doing that, so let's continue to do that, okay? So let's look at principle 1. This is a tough one. So the best way to win an argument is to avoid the argument. So even if you're right in an argument and you know you're right, you have all the facts on the table, if you go and prove that person wrong, completely factually, completely logistically, even to the point where they don't even have a word to basically dismantle anything that you're saying, like you've clearly 100% in a debate proven that you're right, you still lost, because what you've done is you strip that person of their pride. That person, despite being wrong, will resent you. They will, in their head, still think that you're wrong because of another reason. You see what I'm saying? There will always be a reason why you've lost, because now that person is now an enemy. You've got to ask yourself, is this worth arguing about? Is this worth arguing for? Is the possibility of losing this friend, making an enemy, worth arguing with this about? What I suggest and what this book suggests and what I've gotten from this book, and this is why I'm suggesting it, is that you guys should try to find some sort of common ground. So maybe you're here, the other person's here, but you can meet in the middle, or you can meet a little bit closer to each other. So focus on the things that you are agreeing on, not the things that you're not agreeing on. And like we were talking before, even if you can get along with that person 20% better, 50% better, that's much better than where you started. At least then they won't resent you. They'll have a nice connection with you. They'll feel like they can respect you and they're being respected. And that way you're more likely to maybe get them to your way of thinking, maybe 1 in 2 times, 1 in 3 times, instead of making just a complete enemy. Just a quick analogy, the way I was kind of thinking about this, and ironically it's because I was doing this the other day. So I was washing my car, right? And I told myself, because after I washed the car, I realized I missed a couple of spots, because a couple of spots had grease on them and I couldn't quite get it off. And I didn't notice it when all of the car got wet. And not to mention the fact that the next day the pollen from the air kind of dirties the car a little bit and it gets kind of dusty. But I was thinking to myself, my car was really dirty before. And even though I'll clean the mats and they'll get a little bit dirty again, the fact of the matter is my car is cleaner. So even though it's not perfect, it's better than what it was. So, you know, the whole point to take away from this is improvements are better than nothing at all. So we don't have to shoot for perfection. You just have to shoot for improvement, because the fact of the matter is I was living life with a dirty car anyways. So now I'm living life just the way I would have with a dirty car, but now my car is cleaner and it's much better. So all that just to say, shoot for improvement. Principle number 2 will be, do not tell someone that they are wrong directly. You want to make somebody come to the realization that they're wrong. And you'd be surprised if you go with somebody, the fact that they could be right in some instances, with you kind of leave it hanging where they can interpret maybe they're not correct in this instance. You'd be surprised how going along with somebody can actually make them admit to themselves that they're wrong, and then they'll end up admitting it to you that they're wrong. Another way of trying to navigate this is, instead of saying they're wrong directly, you can phrase it as, you could say, I may be wrong, but I think of it like this. What do you think? Or you could say things like, perhaps this is how it is, or I think that this is how it's done. I think that that actually goes over here, but I could be wrong, I'm not too sure. Like mentioned before, I think it's actually a great idea when you leave it in the situation where you say, you know, that sounds, it's almost like you're giving somebody a compliment as to what they did, but you give them a compliment as it would be fitting in another scenario. So you're almost implying that it doesn't fit in this instance, but you let them point out themselves that it doesn't fit, so they don't feel as offended as if you decisively told them that they're wrong. So I'm not talking about don't be decisive. I'm talking about don't be decisively telling people that they're wrong. Decisiveness is an important trait, especially in men. It's very good to be decisive, but not in this instance. Telling somebody that they're straight up wrong is wrong. It's not a good idea. So, but perhaps I'm wrong saying that. See what I'm saying? Principle number 3, admit you're wrong when you're wrong, and do it quickly and do it very empathetically. Now, this is very important. Admitting that you're wrong shows that you don't think that you have some sort of superiority over others. It really levels the playing field. And it makes that person think that if you're okay admitting that you're wrong, remember, people love to hold on to their pride. They love to feel appreciated and important. And if they see that you're okay talking about you being wrong, they're not going to feel like they're going to lose their sense of importance and pride if they admit that they're wrong, because you've already set the bar that that's okay in this conversation. So if you take that step, you'll be surprised. The person is more than happy to also admit where they've been wrong. And oftentimes I've actually applied this in my life, and I've noticed, like many other principles, it working directly in front of me. Sometimes I'll completely say that I'm wrong about something, and then somebody will say, oh no, and they'll start defending areas that I am right, and almost making my mistake, even if I am wrong, seeming like not a big deal. And especially just kind of defending, almost like they're taking my defense. Whereas if you were to flip that around and you were to be defensive, that person would be on the attack on you. And then you would have an enemy, and then you would get nowhere with that person. Principle number 4, be friendly. This is a very simple way to explain this in the book. It was explained as, why do people love dogs so much? Right? Like, everybody loves dogs, right? Even if you're a cat person, you probably still like dogs. And why do we love dogs so much? It's because when you're separated from them and they see you again, dogs are the most fanatic creatures. They're so happy to see you. They show their enthusiasm. They wear their enthusiasm. They love to see you. They jump up on you. And nothing makes you feel better than seeing somebody visibly show how happy they are to see you. So if you try to be more friendly and be more enthusiastic when you see somebody, they're going to feel that body connection, that body language, that receptiveness. They're going to feel very connected to you. Sometimes that friendliness, some of the most, how do I say this, so to speak, in a nice way? Some of those people that look like they've eaten a sour gummy worm, sometimes those are the people that need the friendliness and need the love the most. You don't know sometimes how much despair somebody's having in their life. You don't know necessarily how lonely somebody is in their life. You don't know how many people that person's dealt with that have been unfriendly with them. So maybe they think this is how the world is. But if you are the person that shows them that's not how it is, you'd be surprised. Sometimes you do a lot more for people than you actually think you do sometimes. Principle number 5 is getting the person to say yes as many times as you can. Now, basically what this comes down to is a sense of pride. If you get somebody saying no and disagreeing with you right off the bat, then even if you're right, and even if you kind of win them, they're more likely to just stick with their original concept of no, because them taking back their no is almost like them losing their sense of pride. It's like them taking back their word. It's like them going back on what they said, and they're more likely to stick with that original no because they don't want to, in a sense, admit that they're wrong. But if you get that person agreeing with you on little things, so don't get them to agree with what you're trying to convince them of right away, but to get them agreeing on little things and just get them into the pattern of saying yes. And once you get them mentally focused on saying yes, they're more likely to continue that train of thought. And in a sense, they've felt like they've gained some sort of connection and rapport and support with you. So try that one out. That one works really well. Principle number 6 is let the other person do most of the talking. Not like how I'm doing most of the talking right now, but then again, you guys can't talk back to me right now. But I'd love for you guys to leave a comment. Feel free to comment down below. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what books you want me to review. Let me know which principles you're planning on applying, which ones you've applied, how they work for you. Let me know everything, guys. I'm here to listen. But kind of like how you guys are almost like, I'm pretending like you're there and you're letting me talk. You're making me feel very special. You're making me feel very smart. And you're making me feel like I want to continue making this video. It doesn't always apply to every situation. And obviously you need to, at some point, interject and say something too, especially if you're having a conversation with somebody. But when you let the other person do a lot of the talking, and you let them just express their thoughts, they really feel like they have a voice. And if they haven't had a voice in areas of their life, you're providing them with something that they don't have. So they're gonna feel joy when they're around you. They're gonna feel like they're heard when they're around you. And like we said before, a huge part of human nature is feeling that importance and feeling that appreciation. Principle number 7, let the other person think that the idea is his or hers. So you want to present the idea in such a way that you can get the person aware of it and interested in it just enough so that they can start to think about it. They will talk to you about it. They will go over it in their head. They'll talk about the pros and cons. And then as they come to the conclusion that you want them to come to, let them believe that that idea is theirs. They're going to believe that it is because they've talked themselves through it. You've indirectly shown them that it is the superior way. At least that's what you want to think, right? And that way that person doesn't feel like they've been sold something. They feel like they bought something. Now I know this seems like a lot of principles, and it is, but notice the overlap, like we were talking before. And the flow of this information is so nice that once you master a few of these principles, they really kind of flow into each other. And sometimes you'll, without even consciously thinking about, principle 2, but if you're thinking about principle 1, you might end up doing principle 1, but at the same time you're doing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because they have such a nice flow to them, right? So I just encourage you guys, you're doing so well so far. Please continue to invest in yourself, to invest in your knowledge. And this really just comes down to practice. And this is myself included too. I'm really practicing this stuff every day. I'm trying to apply it when I can. I make mistakes all the time. I try to correct them. I try to meditate and reflect and see where I can improve. But the more that you practice, the better that you get, the easier this flows, just like basically anything else in the world. Principle 8, see other things from the other person's point of view. Remember how I talked about before, probably some of the most important principles, one being allowing that person to feel importance and appreciation? Well, this might be the other one, where honestly, if you could only take 2 things from this book, it would be see things from the other person's point of view and make them feel appreciated. Because really, a lot of these principles stem off that, right? To make somebody feel appreciated, you listen to them. You don't interrupt them. You're a good listener. You show them that they're appreciated. You smile at them, etc., etc. You don't argue with them. Stuff like that, So if you want to get somebody to be won over to your way of thinking, what you have to do is you have to think about how your way of thinking will benefit that person, and then you have to think of how that benefit could directly apply to that person based off of their wants. So that might benefit that person, but is that benefit something that the person wants? And if it is, you present that benefit in such a way that it looks like it connects with what they want. Principle number 9 is show sympathy. Very important. Remember when you were a kid and you fell off your bike and you bruised your arm, you bruised your leg, and you really wanted to show your mom because why? You knew she would look at you. You knew she would say, "Oh, little baby, come here." You knew she would give you a hug. You knew she would give you attention. She would tend to your wounds. Maybe make you a meal, hug you and cuddle you. It's that sympathy that we're looking for. And even as adults, we look for that sympathy, maybe in a different way, maybe not directly from our wounds, but perhaps. But a lot of times we want sympathy in the things that we've gone through in life. We want our sacrifices, our struggles. We want those things to be recognized, and we want them to be heard. Some people have had a tougher life than others, and I'll admit that, right away. That's definitely, life isn't fair. I've been blessed to have a really great life. When I look at my parents' life, for example, they had a much rougher life than I've had growing up, and I want to make it my best to make my kids' lives even easier than mine, in a sense, right? You still want to build discipline and make them work hard, but you want to make things better for them, right? So when you sympathize with people and you show them that you're almost with them, like you understand, you want to try to understand that yes, things have been hard for them. That's an easy way to win somebody over and develop trust with them, because they're going to see that you see their sacrifices, you hear them, and you understand that they've had struggles. Principle number 10. Appeal to the person's nobler motives. So what this means is basically, if you don't have a reason to believe that the person's lying, that the person is dishonest, not to be trusted, then you basically set the stage up that you believe that they would do the right thing. And you let them know that. You tell them, I believe you're a man or a woman of integrity. I trust you. I know that, you know how to do this and you've done it before. You basically are trusting. You're basically trusting the person as if faced to do the right and wrong and nobody was looking, you know for a fact that they would do the right thing. And if you voice that and show that person that you have that trust, they're more likely to actually live up to that reputation that you've given them. Principle 11, you want to dramatize your ideas. So for example, this is where visuals come in very handy. When you're watching a car commercial, and they're not just telling you the car can go fast, they're not just telling you the car is blue, they're showing a stunt driver driving around in an obstacle, and then of course you see in the fine print it says professional driver, do not attempt. And really, is anybody really driving a Ford, like a Jeep onto a mountain? Probably not many of us, but they're showing you that it has that capability, right? And the fast turns and everything shows you the control of the car, it shows you the color of the car, it shows you the interior. It shows you just the specs of it, right? So it's a visual representative, because people don't necessarily just like to hear, they also like to see. And the last principle for this part is throw down a challenge to the person. Make it seem like what you're asking of them is difficult for other people, or that other people have tried and failed. A lot of the times this person might, look at you and either say to you or think to themselves, more likely, that, oh, so like you don't think I could do this? Or they're going to start to think to themselves, if this has been hard for other people and they failed at it, but I do it and I work hard at it and I succeed at it, then it's just going to show how great I am. So nothing like just throwing down a challenge. Bringing a competitive spirit is a huge advantage. Competition for some people, and the feeling of finishing first, the feeling of importance, once again, is huge, and that can really drive a person's behavior. All right, guys, so that is an end to part 3. So we have one last part to go over. You've really shown me right now, and you're showing yourself more importantly, that you're not only thinking about changing your life, but you're actually directly focusing, because so far you've got this far in the video, you're going to finish it to the end. You're determined to learn. You're determined to apply these principles. You're showing that you really want to change your life. It's not just talk. It's actual action. You're sitting down. You're focused. You're not scrolling on your phone. You're not checking the comment section. You're not thinking about what you're going to do, what you're going to eat later. You're focused 100% on learning this. You're writing down your goals. You're writing down these principles. It's not talk. I'm so proud of you guys. You're doing the things that are necessary to improve your life, and in just a matter of time, your life is going to improve. There's no if, ands, or other way about it. If you're doing what you need to do, you're learning and you're applying these principles, you're doing other self-help videos, you're producing better habits all around, your life will get better. I know you guys are seeking that, and it's amazing that you're doing that. There's nothing better than investing in yourself, and you will get better. I promise you, it's just a matter of time. Keep doing the good habits, keep doing what you're doing, and you will absolutely 100% get better. It's just a matter of time. All right, guys, I see you still here. Amazing. Let's go over part 4. So this is how to be a leader without causing offense and without causing resentment of others towards you. Principle number 1, start by giving appreciation. The other person, no matter how small the thing is that they did, they really want to be recognized. They really want to feel noticed. Even if somebody, and the amazing thing is we all fit in different places. Just like we need our fingers, our hands, our arms, our legs. We need different organs to make our whole body work as a whole. You'll have different people that need to do different things in society. And, sometimes people feel that if they're doing something less important, they don't feel as important. But if you show them that what they're doing is necessary, and it is, and out of sincerity and genuineness, you actually say, we need you a part of society to make society work, that could change a person's life forever, and that person will look to you as a leader. Another way to think about this is, if you go to get a cavity done, and this was mentioned in the book, is think of the cavity drilling as the criticism, and the praise and the appreciation as the freezing that they give you before the drilling. Now, they're still going to give you the drilling. They're still going to give you the criticism that you need, and phrased correctly, of course, right? But they give you the freezing first. They give you the appreciation first, because they want to show you that you're appreciated. They want to show you that they don't just recognize you when you do things that are wrong. And this is very important, because this is something that we mess up a lot in society, myself included, and it's something that we need to really try to consciously fix. because for whatever reason, it just occurs naturally. But we need to focus less on someone when they've done something wrong, but focus on them when they've done something right. So we need to show that person that that's what we're doing. We recognize them, but we're recognizing them when they do things good and bad. We're not just noticing them. They don't just go unnoticed when they're doing good things and then noticed when they're doing bad things. And this is very, very important. Principle number 2 is you want to correct people's mistakes indirectly. You want to lead people to their mistakes. You want to present it in a way such as they discover their own mistakes. And a lot of the times they will admit their mistakes to you. If you agree with them and you show them sympathy in the situation, they'll surprisingly take the opposite side, and instead of defending themselves, they'll actually criticize themselves because you're already defending them. But then they'll start telling themselves, like, no, I shouldn't have done this. You're too nice. I shouldn't have done this. And really the effect that you wanted to correct the mistake will work. They will correct the mistake, and you will not have that person resent you because they were the ones that were able to tell themselves that they did wrong. They didn't really necessarily need you to tell them that they're wrong because they knew they're wrong. But now they can actually admit it to themselves and actually try to improve themselves and not make that mistake again. A great way to phrase this in conversation, start by giving somebody a compliment, and then instead of using the word but, use the word and. So, you've done a great job with blah, 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 blah. And I know that since you're so hardworking, you will fix the blah, 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 blah. Because that comes across more genuine, because when you use the word but, it almost seems insincere. It's like that compliment is like insincere, and really the point that you wanted to make was the criticism. And for some reason that word is just not registered in our head properly, because it just seems like, oh, you've done a good job, but whatever, you know what I mean? So if you say and, I know that you can fix this and this, it just seems like it's an all-inclusive thing. You're recognizing the good and the bad. You're not just showing almost like, yeah, you did a good job, but since you did this, it's like, it kind of neutralizes what you did. It's like, you didn't really do a good job. You know what I mean? That's kind of how it registers in our brain, I think. Principle number 3, and now this is shooting a challenge to you guys, and that is to criticize yourself before you criticize others. Now, I tend to do this a lot now. I'll say, I might be wrong on this, but, or in a straight up conversation when you're wrong on stuff, say, I was wrong about this, but concerning this topic, I think this is the way that it is. So you're showing basically, again, that you don't have that pride, you don't have that ego, so that person feels like they can let go of their sense of pride and let go of their sense of ego, and they're still going to feel important when they let that go. And I didn't really plan, honestly, in this video to talk so much about pride and ego, but honestly, it's such a big part of who we are. And pride and ego doesn't have to necessarily be a bad thing. We can have an ego in a positive way, and we can have an ego for positivity. And we can have pride and boasting and bragging in a good source and in a good way and for the betterment of ourselves and others. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing, but it's just when you have that defensiveness and that defending our pride, that's when it can be something negative. So if we can avoid inflicting that condition onto somebody, you're going to get a lot further in life. Principle number 4, don't give direct orders, give suggestions. Ask questions. Perhaps things will work if we do it like this. That sounds good in that situation, but I wonder if we could try paraphrasing it for this other situation. Maybe asking the person, oh, what do you think of this versus this other option? And kind of get the other person thinking too, get the other person involved in the conversation. Principle number 5 is you want to allow the person to save face. In other words, retain their pride. Here we go again with this pride thing. What is with that? So basically, there is no way that you're going to get through to somebody if you've made them lose their sense of, substance. If you make a person in a situation, especially in front of other people, but even just with you and them, if you make them feel like they're they don't have any importance and they don't have any authority, then you're not going to get through to that person. They're going to maybe even take it to the point where they pretend like they agree with you, but as soon as you guys turn away, they're going to not listen to you and they're going to even resent you. This is kind of hard to grasp, but it's not necessarily how you see that person, but it's how that person sees themselves. So you have to make sure that that person's self-image of themselves is a positive one. And you can do that by the way that you interact with them and making them feel like they have a voice, making them feel like their opinion wasn't stupid. Because even if you're, you have to look at how that person responds to your comments, because if they respond negatively to them, then that person might view themselves very negatively, even though you were just joking and you still hold them in high regard and you were just making a joke. That person may not understand that, and they may think that you're, you lost respect for them, and they might see themselves as smaller when they're around you. So they're not going to want to be around you, and they're not going to want to listen to you. So this is an important one. It's all stemming from pride. Principle number 6 is to praise the smallest improvements or any kind of improvement and ignore the bad behaviors. What this does, it reinforces the good habits while ignoring the bad habits. Instead of focusing on the bad habits, which won't take them away necessarily, when you focus on the good habits, you're keeping the good habits, and as a byproduct, you're getting rid of the bad habits. This works much better than criticism. Principle number 7, give the person a good reputation to live up to. Now this can actually be quite a fun one. So this kind of parallels the appeal to the person's nobler motives. So if you tell that person that if you set the stage like they're an excellent worker, and if they were previously an excellent worker, but they're having a period of time where they're dragging behind other work, you can state how well of the worker they were before, tell them that they have such high standards, and then get into your conversation with them where you think that they're not meeting up to what they were before, and let's try to figure out a way that you can fix things. Is something not working for them? Let's try to find a solution, because they know that your potential is not what they're giving out, because in the past they've shown you that they can do so much more, so that you want to get them back to that level of performance. So you've given that person a reputation like they were the boss. They were competent, and that's going to motivate that person so much more to become what they were before, even if the person wasn't. You want to pretend like they have those skills, like they've had those skills. You basically want to set the stage for what you expect them to be. You want to pretend like they're already there, give them that reputation, and that way they'll strive their hardest to become that person, because they don't want to fall short from that reputation that you've given them. Principle 8, make things seem easy to do. So this kind of doubles up as making things super easy. Like, say if somebody wants to learn like a new instrument, make it seem like it's no big deal. If somebody's made a mistake, make the mistake seem like no big deal. Like, oh, this is not normal of them, if it's not, and they can easily fix it. Oh, no big deal. It's especially if somebody's new at something, let them see that it's not their lack of competence, but it's their lack of experience, and it's okay. They'll fix it and they'll get it better next time. And one great way that it's put in the book is, I remember when I was a kid and I was playing basketball and I was shooting the ball, and I would make some shots and I wasn't making shots. And obviously I don't have NBA potential. I'm only 5'8". But I remember my one neighbor saw me shooting the ball, and he said basically like, "Oh, you're really good at that. You kind of remind me of Kobe Bryant." And at that time, when I was growing up, Kobe Bryant was kind of like the man, right? Like that was his time. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, one of my favorite basketball players of all time. And he didn't know that I loved Kobe Bryant, but he pointed out somebody significant that was highly successful in the sport that I was playing. And of course, I really loved Kobe Bryant. So for me, him telling me that I reminded him of Kobe Bryant, as a kid, I believed him. And I'll tell you, even though I didn't have NBA aspirations necessarily, like I kind of did in my head. I was a kid, I was naive, but I had so much joy and so much fun going to play basketball by myself, going to play basketball with my buddies, whether I was making shots or not making shots. I was excited about the progress, and in my head, I was Kobe Bryant, and I could shoot like him, and I could win championships like him, all because somebody told me I basically had a natural flair for something. I had a natural ability to do something, which honestly, even if the person doesn't, that person is going to achieve a higher level of performance and success because they believed that they were somebody naturally good at it. So they basically put their head down and they worked hard at it and they practiced hard because they believe that this is what they're meant to do. And that is a great way of encouraging somebody, and that will make somebody produce and become better than they ever could have been had they have been told that they're not good at something and maybe this isn't for them. So give that one a try. That one's a really fun one, honestly, when you tell somebody, you know, they have a natural flair or something and you believe that they can be special at it. And a lot of the times these people do end up becoming very special at it. Not necessarily that they were even naturally good at it. They could have been horrible at it. But what you did was make that person believe in themselves, feel encouraged, and it made them put their head down and believe that they were meant to do this. And no matter what, even if they were or weren't, they worked really hard at it. And anything that you work hard at consistently, you will at least become better at. You'll become good at it. You may not become the best, because natural abilities do matter, but you will still get better, and you can even become very excellent at that thing depending on what it is, right? So have some fun with that one. That's definitely a lot of fun, especially with kids. You can see their faces light up when you give them compliments like that. I'm sad and not sad at the same time. We're here at our last principle. So this one is make the other person feel happy about doing the thing that you want. Basically, try to phrase it in a way that the person's almost like doing you a favor. And then by doing so, they're going to feel so much happier that it's like they have something that you don't have. They're going to feel needed. They're going to feel like they're giving you something, and it's going to give them a sense of joy and fulfillment. Because believe it or not, we really do have a great sense of joy when we give to others. We also love receiving, but there's some people say there's even an even greater aspect of joy when we give to others. So if you phrase it in a way that that person has something that you need and you're the only one that can give it to them, then they're going to be very excited about giving that thing to you. All right, and that brings us to the end. Guys, I want to thank you so much for watching the video. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to support me, support the video in whatever way that you feel is appropriate, depending on how much you think this video impacted your life. I'll leave that up to you guys. You know, I'm really impressed with you guys that sat through and watched this entire video, and just know that having this solid focus in its entirety for this video sets such a solid fundamental and foundation in your life. I encourage you to continue reviewing these topics. It's going to be so much easier now that you spent this time ingraining this into you. This has become pillars within you now, and now it's just time to brush up on them. The foundation has been set. You just need to clean it up every once in a while. You know, I really hope this benefits you guys. Let me know how it benefits you. Start some conversations down in the comment section down below. And I'm really excited to do more book reviews, because I really want to hear the testimonies that come from this from you guys, and I want to develop this community of, you know, helping each other get better, self-improving, whether you're a man or a woman, no matter the age, no matter the race, no matter what you're trying to get better at, there is a way to get better. And hopefully this channel is doing that for you. Hopefully, you know, the various videos, health and fitness, book reviews, things to come will help you guys get better. It's really all to just encourage each other and just to develop a better community. So, you know, my name's Kenny. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys in another video. Go check out this book, excellent book. All credit to Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Thank you guys, and I'm out.